Hi everybody, my name is Tola Okogwu and I'm officially taking over the Antidote Street live Instagram this evening. So thank you to everybody for joining. So this evening I'm going to talk about how to ensure a healthy and happy scalp. I've got some questions from people that have given their questions in before today. And also if you have any questions, by all means, please let me know and I'll try and keep track of them. If I miss it, please just keep asking and I will try and get to it. So let's start with the thank you so much to Antidote Street for having me this evening. Really excited, slightly nervous. I've got my notes with me, so if I keep looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So thank you so much. And then I thought I'd start with who am I? So my name is Tola Okogwu. I am a journalist, a hair blogger. I'm also a hair coach. So I help women with Afro-textured hair learn how to look after their hair, maintain their hair, grow their hair, basically all the goals that they have. I'm there to help them achieve those goals, and that is a mixture of ways, from coaching, providing regimen, product advice, that kind of stuff. I'm also a children's author and I've written a series of children's books called Daddy Do My Hair. So as you can see, hair's a bit of a running theme for me. But yeah, I've spent the last 10 years working within the black hair care industry in some way, shape or form. And so this evening I'm going to talk about the scalp, and it's a subject that's quite close to my heart because I myself suffer from scalp issues. I suffer from seborrheic dermatitis. It's a condition that manifests with flaky scalp. And the flakes are quite greasy. They're not dry. They're greasy. I'll get open sores sometimes when it gets really bad. It's itchy. I get it mostly around my hairline. So I'll just see raised scabs that kind of show up around my hairline, and it likes to concentrate in the front. And for me, I have several triggers. Stress can trigger me, hormones when it's that time of the month. When I was pregnant with both my children, I had it quite bad. And over the years, I've tried many different things to manage the condition. I've seen a trichologist, I've tried all the tar soaps, pine soaps, creams, ointments, and it's only been in the last few years that I found a solution that works for me, which kind of deals with the inflammation and the fungal growth, that kind of the underlying causes. So let me put that on silent because otherwise that's going to get annoying. I thought I'd start with some of the questions that have already come in. The first one was, how do you get rid of flaky scalp, or how do I reduce itching? And the answer to both those questions starts with, you need to find out the root cause of the flaky scalp or the itching. It's really important to get a formal diagnosis if you have a scalp condition, because there's so many things that can be causing a dry scalp. And if you kind of not sure what it is, you could start trying remedies which could actually make the situation worse. So my advice to people, clients, readers, is always see a dermatologist, see your GP even as the first point of call, or you can make an appointment with a trichologist to get a formal diagnosis of what's going on with your scalp before you can start looking at remedies. So for example, some of the things that could be wrong with scalp that could cause dry scalp or itchiness: eczema. Eczema is a pretty common one. The thing about eczema is most times eczema has an allergen as the trigger. So it's important to find out what's causing the allergy, because if you start trying to treat the situation on your scalp but you're not dealing with what you're reacting to and what you're allergic to, it's just going to keep happening. So for example, my two daughters are allergic to milk, dairy and soya. So anytime they consume dairy, within a few days they're gonna get eczema patches, and it likes to show up on my youngest. It shows up on her body. On my eldest, it shows up on her scalp. And we actually had a flare-up a few days ago. I mistakenly gave her dairy, and within a day she had the raised scales on her scalp. It was itchy. It was pretty unpleasant. So with her, I know that that's a trigger. I know that's the cause. So we've cut out dairy obviously from her diet, and that mostly keeps it in check. If she does get a flare up, I just try to minimize tension in the area. I will just kind of keep it moisturized, keep it hydrated, and just leave it alone. And usually once the dairy starts to leave her system, it clears up. So if you are someone who suffers from eczema, find out what or if you have an allergic trigger. In dealing with the actual situation on your scalp, this is where, as I said, seeing a trichologist or a dermatologist would be really useful. If it's something like contact dermatitis, which usually happens if you have a reaction to something, so not quite an allergy, but something could be causing irritation to your skin, once again, you need to figure out what it is. It could be a new product, it could be your bedding, it could be a new detergent. You have to kind of have to do a process of elimination to figure out what could be causing that contact dermatitis. Dandruff in itself comes in two forms, dry and greasy. So regular dry dandruff, usually people use medicated shampoo, stuff like Head and Shoulders, that have ingredients like selenium or zinc, zinc pyrithione, which all are antifungals. Then flaky scalp, which is a bit more greasy, like my seborrheic dermatitis. You're looking at things to deal with inflammation and to reduce the fungal or yeast, which is called I have to write this down because it's really hard, some of these names. Malassezia. Now, once you get a formal diagnosis for whatever's causing your scalp situation, then you can look at treatments. And if whoever you see, trichologist, dermatologist, they'll have their recommendations. There are many ways you can tackle it, from natural to more sort of prescribed kind of creams and stuff. One of those things might be steroid creams. I personally don't use steroid creams. I prefer the natural route, and I think that long-term use of steroid creams has its own side effects, which I prefer to avoid. So the second question that we had coming in is, what's the most effective way to treat scalp psoriasis if you have locks? Which I thought was a really good question, because of course any scalp issue, the more access you have to your scalp, the easier it is to treat. And then of course with something like dreads, your scalp is more visible than say if you had free-flowing hair. So with a style like locks, with free-flowing hair, you can hide a little bit better, but where you've got partings and you can see your scalp, it's a bit more difficult. And of course with locks, you can't use a lot of products, so it rules out a lot of the ointments, creams, the kind of things that, you know, most people try or might be prescribed. So once again, first port of call, you need to get it diagnosed that it is psoriasis, because psoriasis is a very specific condition. It's basically it's an autoimmune reaction which causes your skin to produce too much skin, and it just builds up excessive layers of skin, which then flake off. So with psoriasis, the treatment tends to be using products that help to exfoliate that skin. So it's a lot of washing, which actually works quite well with locks, because you can wash quite frequently with locks. So using a shampoo, a medicated shampoo that has something like salicylic acid, which helps to exfoliate the skin, would be really, really beneficial for someone with locks. Also, you can't use, or you wouldn't really want to use cream products, because it could, you know, affect your locks and make them start to unravel, especially when you've just started them. So stuff like oil conditioning is probably better for you, and that's great because there's some really great oils that are anti-inflammatory. You could try aloe vera, apple cider vinegar. All those things are really great anti-inflammatory things, which can really calm down the situation and help reduce the flakes. Thank you to everybody who's joined, by the way. So my recommendation is definitely get it formally diagnosed. See a lock specialist. I like a woman called, her name is Sarah Adeyemi, and her salon is called One Stop Dreadlocks. So see a lock specialist. See what they have to say, because they're going to have some great information for you that is going to both help treat the condition, but also is not going to cause problems with your locks and your style. Now, of course, if your psoriasis is really severe and so natural ingredients aren't working, you maybe have to step it up and use ointments and creams, then you may look at having to potentially cut off your locks. That, once again, is a conversation you're going to have with a lock specialist. And also, I guess, depends on how serious the condition is, and also the compromise and what you're willing to do to deal with the condition. Next question. If I am talking too fast, let me know, because I get that feedback a lot and I just kind of run on. So hopefully I'm not kind of speed talking as we go. But I'll move to the next question, which is, should I exfoliate my scalp? And if so, how? Exfoliating your scalp, it's not like a requirement. You don't have to do it. But of course it is beneficial, much like you exfoliate your skin. It's really beneficial in getting rid of dead skin cells, buildup of products. It just would help with maintaining a healthy scalp. So it, as I said, it removes dead skin cells, unclogs pores. It can, especially if you've got itchy, dry scalp, it can help with relieving the itch, especially if it's being exacerbated by product buildup on your scalp. And I also think that exfoliating your scalp should go hand in hand with detoxing or detoxifying your scalp, which is really good and really important because it helps to remove things like toxins, stuff like mineral deposits, heavy metal deposits, especially as we live in the UK and we have really hard water. And I speak about this a lot with regards to hair and, you know, clarifying your hair using a chelator to remove those heavy metals and salts. But it's equally important for your scalp to get rid of that stuff. So with the hair, we would use stuff like a chelating shampoo, swimmer's shampoo, and that'd be good for your scalp as well. I prefer a more natural, gentle method. So I use clays to wash my hair and my scalp. And clays are a really nice, gentle way to remove the buildup, because clay will remove chlorine, clay will remove heavy metals. And the beauty of clay is that it's really gentle, it's really conditioning to your hair. I say this to people, but I wash my hair with clay and I literally wash and detangle and condition all in one step just using my clay wash. So it highly recommended. So okay, I've got a question. What kind of clay can one use to wash? The most popular one is Rasol clay. Rasol clay is fabulous. It makes your curls pop. So it's, yeah, Rasol clay. I use a mix of 3 clays: Rasol, bentonite and kaolin clay, because they all do slightly different things, and they are all, if we're getting a little scientific, they all have different charges, so they attract different types of toxins, some with negative charge, some with a more positive charge. So using a combination of the 3 gives you the best in terms of a full detox. So as I said, Rasol, bentonite, kaolin, clay. So you can use either of the 3 or a mix of the 3. So in terms of exfoliating, how can you exfoliate? The most common mechanical way is those exfoliating brushes you can get. So they're usually round, you slip your fingers through them and you use in a circular sort of technique on your scalp. So that's an easy, cheap way. I think you can get those for like about £3-4 off of the internet. So those are a nice quick way to exfoliate. You can use scrubs just like you do on your body, and you can buy scalp scrubs and you can make a scalp scrub as simple as using sugar, salt and some oils to exfoliate your scalp. You can get chemical exfoliators, so you can get shampoos that have salicylic acid. Salicylic acid actually naturally exfoliates skin, so that's another way to do it. The main thing to remember when you're exfoliating your scalp is be gentle. We have afro hair and it is delicate in its nature, and so you don't want to do anything that's going to cause too much friction or potentially cause breakage, because that's counterproductive. So be gentle, ladies, if you decide to exfoliate. Let's see, the next question. Oh yeah, baking soda. That's something that people use to both wash, clarify and exfoliate, because baking soda does have small tiny grains in it that will do that. I'm not a big fan of baking soda because it can be incredibly drying to hair, especially used over a prolonged period of time, and it also throws the pH balance of your hair off, which can cause problems later. But it's another method that people use. I'm not a big fan. Next question. Other than flakes and itching, what are some of the signs of an unhealthy scalp? And this is really good. Oh, Winnie, how often should we exfoliate? I think if you have a scalp condition that, for example, someone like me with seborrheic dermatitis, or someone with psoriasis where it's a buildup of skin and excessive skin production, you'd probably want to do it quite regularly. So probably with every wash. Someone else who's probably got more normal scalp, you could probably do it every 3 to 4 weeks. And because every 3 to 4 weeks, I clarify my hair. And I always recommend that people do so anyway, especially in the UK with our hard water. So I think if you just make that 4-week wash, the wash where I'm like, yes, I'm doing a protein treatment, I'm gonna clarify my hair, I'm going to exfoliate my hair. That would probably work for most people, because you don't want to do it too often, because you don't want to risk damaging or irritating your scalp. So I think for normal scalps, 3 to 4 weeks is probably all right. So the next question, other than flakes and itching, what are some of the signs of an unhealthy scalp? This is a good question, because obviously flakes and itching, that's a quick, easy way to see that there's a problem. But there are other things that can tell you there's a problem. So firstly, obviously, any open sores or wounds, if your scalp is weeping, bleeding, bingo, there's a problem. Hair loss. Hair loss is actually a really common sign that something's going on with your scalp. And that can be whether it is, you know, internally, so genetics, you've got female pattern balding, etc., or something is wrong with your follicles. It's usually a scalp issue. So if you see any patches of hair loss, smooth spots, get it checked out, and get it checked out ASAP, because a lot of scalp conditions, if left untreated, will lead to hair loss, and that hair loss can become permanent if you don't deal with it sooner rather than later. So if I leave you with nothing else with this session, if you are concerned about your scalp, anything, go see somebody, please. Other signs, keloids or any other scarring. Black skin is particularly prone to keloids and scarring, so that's usually a sign that something isn't right. Soreness. So we all know the phrase tender-headed. Oh, she's tender-headed, it's so painful. But actually, chronic soreness, where your head just hurts and there doesn't seem to be any explanation, you didn't bang your head or anything, that can also be a sign that something is wrong with your scalp, and so something to get checked out. And actually, soreness can be an early indicator of hair loss or alopecia. So another reason why you should get that checked out. Chronically dry hair. So if you've got a good regimen, you're moisturizing, you're looking after your hair, everything's great, but your hair just still seems to feel dry no matter what you do, it is worth looking at, could there be an underlying issue with your scalp? Because you could have low sebum production, which could be causing it. So that can also be another way that unhealthy scalp manifests. And then on the flip, excessively greasy or oily scalp can be a problem, and it can be a precursor to some of the scalp issues that are on the greasier side, like seborrheic dermatitis. And it's an issue because if you have too greasy scalp, it's sort of a breeding ground for bacteria, fungal infections, etc., which can cause problems later. Next questions. I'm going to jump one and go to this one because I think it's really important that I cover it, which is it true we should not oil or cream our scalps? Now, ladies, my black ladies, we all have grown up with the myth and the idea that we should grease our scalp, oil our scalp, just cause, and regularly. And it's one of the biggest myths that I battle with, because actually greasing and oiling our scalp unnecessarily can cause problems. Our scalp produces its own oil naturally. It's called sebum, and it does a fabulous job of protecting the scalp, moisturizing the scalp. We don't need to put anything else on top. And if you do, when you've got a healthy scalp, it can actually throw you the other way, because if you add external oils, especially the heavy greases and stuff, your body could then reduce its production of sebum, which then makes your scalp dry, which then means you've got to put some more grease, some more oil, and it comes this horrible vicious cycle that is then self-perpetuating. So I do not advise people to put grease and oil on their scalp, except, and there is one caveat, and that is if you have an underlying scalp condition or issue already, like me. I have seborrheic dermatitis. So because I go the natural route, the things that I put on my scalp to keep my condition under control, I use oils as the carrier to get it onto my scalp. So I have to then apply oils to my scalp to get some of those active ingredients onto my scalp. But it's specifically for that reason. It's doing a job, it's treating a condition. So those are the only times where I might suggest, where it's part of a topical application. But just cause you want a shiny scalp, nah, don't do it. Because also the buildup of product, the buildup of grease, the buildup of oil, once again, breeding ground for some really nasty stuff. And it can actually cause problems later along the lines. I will actually, I'm not going to apologize, but I will give you a heads up that my 1-year-old daughter has just, I won't say woken up, because I don't actually think she went to sleep in the first place. So she's making her displeasure known. So if you can hear her crying in the background, yeah, that would be her. Don't worry, she's cool, she's been checked, it's all gravy. She's just learning to self-soothe at the moment. Any other questions? What else have we got? If you guys have any questions, by all means, please do throw them at me. I'm just running through the ones that I already have, but if you do have questions, do let me know. Yes. So we've got, do oils and scalp massages help with hair growth? Yes, they do. Please, people, if you're not already massaging your scalp, it's a great thing to start and to do, because it really is helpful in stimulating hair growth. It stimulates blood circulation to the scalp, which nourishes your hair follicles and just helps them to grow quicker, better, stronger. So by all means, massage. You can, I think a 5 to 10 minute massage every few days or even every day is fine. Not too much pressure, don't give yourself a headache, don't cause any tangles, but you basically just want to get your fingers flat, the pads of your finger flat onto your scalp, and then it's just a gentle rotating motion, not too much pressure. It should feel good, yeah? And so this is where oils can come in really useful. One, they provide lubrication, so it reduces friction and potential of damage, but also you can put really some great active ingredients in those oils, essential oils like rosemary oil, eucalyptus oil, peppermint oil, even tea tree oil. They're all really beneficial and will help stimulate growth also. So that's the only other time as well that I would say putting oils on your scalp is okay, as of carrier for active ingredients. Somebody asked, what oils do you put on your scalp? For my condition specifically, I go with antifungal, anti-inflammatory oils. So I use stuff like neem oil. Essential oil wise, I use stuff like manuka oil, tea tree oil, because they're very strong antifungal, antibacterial essential oils. But if you're going to use essential oils, people, please make sure that you dilute them in a carrier oil. They should never be used neat. On anywhere on your body, and also be careful of the essential oils you use, because some are frankly dangerous. So I tend to use, I avoid shea butter, because shea butter is high in oleic acid, which feeds the yeast that lives on my scalp and can make my seborrheic dermatitis worse if I'm not careful. So even castor oil I have to be careful with, but any natural oil that you're not allergic to and you know works quite well for you, would be good for your scalp. So I personally tend to use jojoba oil, almond oil, coconut oil I like to use. I know some people are scared of coconut oil and worried about hardness or protein. The protein in coconut isn't big enough to penetrate your hair. So if your hair is hard, it's not the coconut oil. I hate to break that to you. It's more likely the fact that coconut oil is solid in room temperature. So when you're putting it on your hair, especially if you're using a lot, it's solidifying while on your hair, which is what's giving you that cast and that crunch. So what you want to do is use less of it. And if you can, use a little bit of heat. So if you apply coconut oil, put a cap on, walk around, let the heat bring it up to room temperature and soften it up. And you'll probably find that you're not getting that crunch issue. I'm getting a lot of hearts for that one, so I think some people are agreeing about the coconut oil, because coconut oil is actually really beneficial. I think those are all the questions that I have here. Does anybody else have any more questions? Because we actually are coming to the end of our time, so I just want to give everybody a chance to ask me any burning questions that you have about scalp care. I think my main takeaways for you from this session is see a specialist. And we've never had as many options as before in terms of seeing a trichologist. There's so many up and coming now, and people are getting educated. So if you have any concerns, if you have any worries, please see someone. It's really hard to grow healthy hair if your scalp isn't healthy. I like to think of it as the soil, fertile ground, and if that soil is not healthy, then nothing's going to grow, and if something does, it's not going to be the best, it's not going to be the healthiest. So healthy hair starts from both internally and also from the base level of your scalp. So, and also because a lot of hair loss issues can arise from underlying scalp issues, it's important to see someone early rather than later. So those are my main takeaways. Yeah, I'm just going to give a few more minutes to see if there are any more questions. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I would like to add in terms of... Actually, there is one thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you do have scalp conditions, one thing that I found to be quite beneficial for dealing with scalp conditions naturally is sulfur. And you can get your sulfur in many different forms, from essential oils like that garlic essential oil, onion essential oil. But sulfur is such a powerful antifungal, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. It's like 3 for 1. And so it's one of the things that I tend to recommend for clients, and I use quite effectively on my scalp to help deal with my scalp issues. What foods help with hair growth, healthy scalp? Oily fish. Oily fish, of course, is beneficial. You've got your omega-3, 6, and 9s, which are all very beneficial and really important. Leafy green vegetables. If you want to grow healthy hair, eat your leafy green vegetables. I can't stress that enough. Oh yeah, and the one thing I forgot, water. Not just for your hair, but water is so important, because sometimes people say that they have dry scalp and actually they're just dehydrated. If your body is dehydrated, it's going to pull it from all the non-essential parts of your body. Your scalp is one of them. So if you are drinking, if you're not drinking enough and you've got dry skin, dry scalp, try drinking 2 liters of water a day and then come back and we can talk. Do you know why only some parts of the scalp can be more sensitive than others? My center. Okay, if you have soreness in the center of your hair, please go see a specialist. There is a specific type of alopecia. I don't want to scare you, but just because it's so important, there's a specific type of alopecia, and one of the early signs can be tenderness, especially in the central part of the hair, especially in black women. Other causes of soreness can be the things you're doing to it, the way you're styling it. It can also be genetic. Some people just have sore, tender scalp. My 4-year-old has very tender scalp and the nape of her hair. So yeah, but please do go get that checked, just be on the safe side. My scalp is always dry no matter how I moisturize it. My hair also feels like wire. I have 4C hair. I would say that you probably need to look at your regimen and making sure that you are moisturizing your hair effectively and locking the moisture in. So that looks at how often you're moisturizing and what products you're using to add the moisture and keep it locked in. With your dry scalp, see somebody just to identify if there is a scalp issue. You can, as I said, some of the other things that I've recommended before, stuff like drinking more water, rinsing products effectively out of your hair. Some people have dry scalp and it's not dry scalp, it's just product buildup because they didn't rinse enough. So rinse. And all these things you can do in the meantime while you're waiting. Yeah, Winnie just said, check out, the Black Skin Directory. Do check them out. My hair is straight. It feels like it hasn't grown this year. What can I do to boost a bit of growth? Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of the session, so I'm not going to be able to cover hair growth and those kind of issues in this talk. But obviously, stay tuned to Antidote Street. They've always got some great resources, great information. I also have lots of stuff over on my website, www.tolaokogwu.com, that has information. And also hit me up on Instagram and I'll be happy to answer questions then. So it is almost 8:30. I think that we are going to call it a night. I would like to say thank you to everybody that has joined. I've had fun speaking to you guys. I really hope that you found some of this information useful and helpful and actionable, which is the most important thing. Thank you once again to Antidote Street for having me. It has been a blast, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.